On the one hand, you have the I don't know how people do this in one take. This is my 14th take on the intro alone. I don't understand. Why is it so hard? Why am I so dumb? So you're in the market for a new chronograph and you decide to go down to your local dealer. On the one hand, you have the Rolex Daytona. Impossible to get, I know, but maybe if you're lucky, they have one in stock for you to buy. On the other hand, you have the Omega Speedmaster, the Moonwatch, and you're going back and forth. The Rolex, the Omega, the Daytona, the Speedmaster. Which one? Which one are you going to buy? And then he tells you the price of either watch, and then you've realized that you've already sold both of your kidneys and you can't afford either one. So you go to the next best thing. On the one hand, you have the Seiko SSC813, the Daytona, and on the other, the Bulova Lunar Pilot. Both of these watches are iconic in their own right. And my God, to compare these two, to choose between one of these two is actually a lot more difficult than it seems. So in today's video, we're gonna be comparing the Seiko SSC813 and the Bulova Lunar Pilot. We're gonna be going through the specs, the features, pros and cons of both watches, and then at the end, we're gonna be deciding on which watch we would rather go with. But before we do that, let me go ahead and give you my wristwatch check of the day. I am rocking the Base FD1. Oh, you don't know what Base is? Well, guess what? You're not watching enough of my videos, so please subscribe, hit that like button. Base is a micro brand that I'm starting with a couple of buddies. We're getting ready to launch our Kickstarter, so please go to the description, click the link to the Kickstarter to stay notified with everything Base timepieces related. Now, hey, I'm not gonna say it's the best micro brand out there, but I'm also not going to not say it's the best micro brand out there. So please sign up for our newsletter in the description at our website, sign up for the Kickstarter. That way you stay notified whenever that's gonna launch. I'm excited to send this watch out to your favorite reviewers. It's gonna be a fun time. So please stay in the know, sign up for everything, click everything, buy everything, do everything, and let's get started with this video. First up is the Bulova Lunar Pilot, the other moon watch. This is a big boy coming with a case diameter of 45 millimeters, a lug to lug of 53 millimeters, a thickness of 13.2 millimeters, and sized it for my wrist is at 176 grams. This watch also has 50 meters of water resistance, and it comes equipped with a push-pull crown. Next, the Daytona, the Seiko SSC813, a little bit more modestly sized at 39 millimeter case diameter, 45.4 millimeters lug to lug, 13.3 millimeters in thickness, and weighs in at 156 grams, size to my wrist. Interestingly enough, this comes with 100 meters of water resistance, even though it's equipped with a push-pull crown as well. One thing I do love about the Bulova Lunar Pilot is that subdial layout. At the 6 o'clock, we have the running seconds hand. At the 9 o'clock, we have the elapsed minutes. And at the 3 o'clock, we have the 10th of a second counter. That 10th of a second counter does stop after 30 seconds to conserve battery power. Powering this watch is Bulova's own 262 kilohertz movement, which is accurate to plus or minus 10 seconds per year. This is what also gives that second hand that nice smooth sweep. And at the 4:30 position, we have a color matched date window. Now for me, the biggest fault of the Seiko SSC813 has to be the subdial layout. So at the 9 o'clock position, we have the running seconds hand. At the 6 o'clock, we have the elapsed minutes. And at the 3 o'clock is the highly controversial 24-hour subdial. Now, I think the 24-hour subdial here is a bit useless, and I would love to have a 10th of a second counter. So this watch does come equipped with a solar-powered movement, the V182. It's accurate to plus or minus 15 seconds per month. And one nice thing they did was they actually hid the solar cells in the subdials. Hidden in the 6 o'clock subdial is the power level indicator from F to E. And if you think this watch looks a little off, it's probably that 4:15 date window. It's a little sunken in, but it is color matched. The case of the Lunar Pilot is bead blasted, and it does have a brushed bezel. That sapphire glass does stick above the bezel, so it is prone to chipping, even though I have had no issues with that. The bracelet is vertically brushed, which kind of gives a weird look with the bead blasted case, but it does come with female end links to kind of minimize that lug to lug size. Now the finishing of the Seiko is a little bit more complex. On the top of the case we have a circular brushing pattern. On the side of the case is a high polish. That bezel is a PVD coated stainless steel, and the brushing on the bracelet is vertical. That bracelet to case doesn't fit quite right. There's a little bit of a gap, and overall the bracelet does feel a little bit cheaper than other bracelets in this category. Now yes, this watch does resemble an Omega Speedmaster from the hands to the subdials, but this watch does have its own unique history. This watch actually has been to the moon. That's why it's dubbed the other moon watch. I love the seconds hand. I love the dial layout. The tachymeter looks great. That date window, while it's at the 4:30, is also a little hidden, but it's there when you need it. Now, Bulova could have dropped the ball on the case back, but they actually put a lot of work into this. They have the Bulova tuning fork, the Apollo 15 mission details right there at the back. It is a screw down case back, so we do get an increase from 30 to 50 meters of water resistance. I wish they could have made this 100 meters of water resistance, but hey, we'll live with 50 meters. Now, one thing I do wish is that they included a fold-over style clasp with micro adjustments instead of a butterfly clasp. That's one area where they dropped the ball. Now, it doesn't matter which dial variation of the Seiko you decide to go with, they all ooze character, from the bezel down to that cream color handset. It looks absolutely amazing from a distance. It's only when you start to look at the small details of the subdials, of the dial itself, then issues start arising. And especially at that 4:15 date window, my biggest issue isn't at the 4:15, it's that how sunken in it is. And even when it comes to the case back, yes, it is screwed in, but they did it in the most cheap way. It's just laser etched stainless steel case back. There's no character there where I wish there was. I wish they added something to that case back to make it look more visually appealing. Now, this watch does come with 100 meters of water resistance, which is great. And that fold over clasp does work and function properly. It just, the entire bracelet just overall feels a little cheap. Now, when it comes to the lume of these two watches, the Seiko uses its proprietary Lume Bright, and the Bulova Lunar Pilot, I believe, uses BGW9. Now, it's not the brightest, not the best, but as you can see in the side-by-side comparison, the Seiko does shine a little bit brighter on the hands, but the Bulova has more lume applied throughout the watch. You can tell the orientation of that Bulova just from this position alone because of that double wide baton at the 12 o'clock. Now, overall, these watches are not divers, so I'm not expecting the best lume, but if I had to choose one over the other, I think I would choose the Bulova just because it has more lume on the dial itself. Now, the biggest issue with the Bulova Lunar Pilot is that 45mm diameter, but on my 7.5-inch wrist, it looks like it works just fine. I can see why a lot of people don't like it or hesitate to buy this watch because of that size, but for me, it fits like a glove. The Seiko, on the other hand, is 39mm. It still looks great on my wrist, but I think it's just more versatile for a wide range of wrist sizes, including my own. So it's decision time. Do we choose the Rolex Daytona Homage, the Seiko SSC813, or do we choose the other moon watch, the Bulova Lunar Pilot? On the one hand, you have the Seiko. More reasonable case size, sportier look. But then you look at the finer details. 4:15 date window, a deep set date window. You have a 24-hour subdial. Doesn't really do anything for me. And then you have this jingly bracelet. Kind of lackluster. Really makes the watch feel cheap. On the other hand, you have the Bulova Lunar Pilot. Massive watch. You have this thick, unguarded piece of sapphire glass. But you have a high-frequency quartz movement, actual useful subdials, but then you have a butterfly clasp with no micro adjustments. So which one would I choose? Is it the sportier Seiko or the more useful Bulova? It was a hard decision, but I think I'm going to go with the Bulova Lunar Pilot. Now, the size of the watch doesn't bother me because I do have a bigger wrist, and the dial layout is just so much better on the Bulova. It's just much more refined. It doesn't have that awkward 4:15 date window. It's not sunken in deep in the dial. It has a high accuracy quartz, and it has the legacy of being a moon watch, even though it's the other moon watch. So I'm gonna have to go with the Bulova Lunar Pilot. Now, luckily for you, no matter which watch you decide to go with, it's gonna be worth the money. But for me, if I had to buy it again, it would be the Bulova Lunar Pilot. So that's the video. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button below, hit that bell icon, like the video. Follow me on the rest of my social media, on Instagram, on Twitter. Follow Base Timepieces, sign up for our newsletter, do all that stuff. If you haven't seen the reviews for either of these watches, please click on either one right here, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one.